Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And if you've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Hey everybody, welcome back to Blu-Roy Movies, and apologies for the dreadful singing. But it's here, it's Christmas. This is your last weekly watches for Christmas, and I'd just like to say, before we get into it, Merry Christmas to all my viewers and subscribers. Thank you for all your support over the last year. It's been a fantastic year for the channel. Thoroughly enjoyed doing these for you, and I hope you have a really great time, and you and your loved ones, wonderful food, wonderful prezzies. Just keep each other company and have a good time. So let's get on with the weekly watches. This week we have watched seven titles, mixture of genres, couple of sort of Christmas films chucked in there. So let's get on with this. The first one, a film from 1960, I think it was. Yeah, 1960. The Battle of the Sexes, directed by Charles Crichton. This is a good fun comedy starring Peter Sellers. Peter Sellers is always brilliant in anything he does. Robert Morley, Constant Cummins, and Donald Pleasance, it says on there. But Donald Pleasance, he was in it for about 30 seconds, just one scene at the start, which is a bit disappointing because I do like Donald. This is all about Constant Cummins. She's an American lady, and she's been getting into business in America, a businesswoman, at the time where it's pretty frowned upon because the men don't like her muscling in on their action. So she's seconded off to Scotland to work, where she meets Robert Morley, who is a buffoon-type character who has inherited a traditional Scottish tweed company from his late father. And this company is like from the Dark Ages, the way it works. And Constant Cummins, she has the idea of completely remodernise how they do it, much to the chagrin of Peter Sellers, who works there, who will do anything he can to try and stop her, including murder. Yeah, really good fun comedy. I quite enjoyed this. I watched this last Sunday morning, just a perfect Sunday morning film. Peter Sellers, a pretty much understated performance to what he normally does, but very good nonetheless. Yeah, great film, one to enjoy. Do you see it on the BFI label? I think it's pretty inexpensive, well worth a pickup. Right, next up for myself was a first time viewing on 4K, not a first time viewing overall, of The Bourne Identity. I've been hankering to watch this series again for a while, so I've just recently got the 4Ks in. Look pretty good on 4K, and I just love this series. For me, right up there was the sort of modern Craig Bonds, very gritty. Matt Damon is Bourne. I think it's his role. What I identify Damon with. Yeah, really good stuff. I'm sure most people have seen the Bourne films about Matt Damon, who, he's a hitman, and after a bungled hit attempt, he's left for dead in the water, and when he's rescued, he can't remember anything about his previous life, and it's him patching together his previous life while the CIA and all the other Secret Service agencies are trying to kill him because his hit went wrong and he knows stuff. Well, they think he knows stuff, but he doesn't because he can't remember. That could really compromise the Secret Services. Yeah, went on to spawn a 5-film franchise, all of which I can take something out of, even The Legacy, which was not got Damon in the air, quite like that one as well. And I didn't mind the recent Jason Bourne one. I say recent, it's a few years ago now, Yeah, but that was pretty good too. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to getting on with the rest of the series. Next up from myself was this 50s film, The Sea Shall Not Have Them, starring Dirk Bogarde. I like Dirk Bogarde. Michael Redgrave. This is about a branch of the Royal Air Force during World War II, which I didn't know existed, to be honest. And maybe if a history buffs on here could clue me in more about it, maybe Alan. He's always a good one for history. Yeah, they were like a seaborne branch of the Royal Air Force in these little launches, and their task primarily was to try and rescue downed RAF pilots and like bomber crews from the sea after they're ditched. Yeah, like I said, this whole branch of the RAF didn't even know it existed. And this is the story of Bogarde and Redgrave and two other guys who ditched their bomber after it's been hit by a Messerschmitt. And Michael Redgrave, he's like an admiral in the Navy or something, and he's carrying this briefcase with him with the plans for the next rockets on the Germans' like V series, and the Allies are really desperate to get these plans into their hands, so they pull out all the stops to try and rescue them. And it's pretty much about these guys, how they get on in this life raft that they're waiting to be rescued on, and getting to know their lives a bit more, the characters, and also the characters of the guy in the two tugs that are coming to rescue them. Yeah, very dialect driven as you get to know these characters. It's a decent film. If you want to watch this sort of film, I'd recommend more like The Boat, the Hitchcock film, which does this type of story, but a lot better in my opinion. But it was all right. It was worth a watch. It's only an hour and a half long. It's not going to outstay its welcome. Yeah, it's okay. It's a worthy addition to the collection, and one I could see myself watching again in the future. So yeah, not too bad. Next one I watched was Cass, the bottom one in this three sort of like football thug collection. And I have seen this film before, but a long, long time ago. It stars Nonzo and Anonzi, who I've never heard of before. I don't think he's been in much else, as Cass Pennant. This is the true story of Cass. He was a football hooligan for West Ham in their notorious ICF firm. And he rose from being a young boy. Oh, when he was young in this, he was played by Daniel Kaluuya. I've never seen him like he's a young Kaluuya. Yeah, and he rises up through the ranks to become leader of the gang, to end up being in prison for his football hooligan activities, and going on to be a businessman, survive being shot, then just dropping it all, turning his life all around and becoming an author. And yeah, I quite enjoyed this. As I say, I've seen it before a long, long time ago. And a true story here. I support Spurs, and I used to go quite often. And one day we went to watch a match, and it was against West Ham. It was a friendly, but it weren't that friendly. And me and a couple of my mates, we were in the pub opposite the ground called the Bricklayers Arms. And my friend, he said, I'm going to nip over the Spurs shop, which is, at the time, it's all different now to the new stadium. It was directly opposite this Bricklayers Arms pub. He come back a couple of minutes later. He says, "Oh, sod that!" He says, "I got outside the shop, and this big black guy who was carrying this head bag. You know the bags he used to have with head written on the side, one of them big bags, and he's dropped it on the floor, opened it up, and started dishing out baseball bats and machetes to his mate. So he shot straight back in the pub. And years later, when my mate watched this film, and then afterwards they have an interview with Cass Pennant as one of the features, he clocked this black guy straight away as the guy he'd seen outside the Spurs shop. So yeah, did probably a good job. He did come straight back into the boozer. But yeah, I quite enjoyed this film. I think it's up there with the Football Factory and the Firm of Gary Oldman. Mindless thuggery, if you like. All the typical British faces you see in these type of films, like Tassa something or other. You'll know the guy if you saw him. Yeah, familiar British faces, which is the main reason I like watching these films. Yeah, decent film. If you haven't watched it and you like these football hooligan type things, yeah, give it a watch because it's not too bad. Next up for myself, the first Christmas film, Carol. This is about titular character Kate Blanchett, and she falls for Rudy Mara. It's all set over Christmas. Set in 1950s, really good cinematography, lovely score in this, like really heartfelt music that I quite enjoyed. These start like a lesbian affair in the times where it was very frowned upon. They had to go on the run, and her husband, who was played by Kyle Chandler, who's an actor I really like, he employs a private detective to follow them around, see what they're getting on, and when it's discovered, she loses all access and rights to see a kid. Just see my mate Hamid just messaged me a typical Hamid message. Sorry about that. Oh yeah. Yeah, good film. Good heartfelt drama, romance film, all set around Christmas. So it's tentatively a Christmas film. I'm claiming it anyway. Yeah, it's a film I enjoy. I've seen it a couple of times now. If you like your romance drama type films, I know they're not for everybody. Give it a watch. That's Carol. Next up, a film that you might have just seen recently that my friend Larry sent me over to watch, and that's Hidalgo, starring Viggo Mortensen and Omar Sharif. I like Omar Sharif. He was a great actor. This is about Viggo Mortensen's character. He's sort of like half Indian, and during the Battle of Little Bighorn, is it, where they slaughtered all the Indians, he's the guy who delivered the message to the cavalry to kill, and all these Indians got killed and all that. He then goes on with his horse Hidalgo, which is what's the name, to be sort of a long distance horse racer, and him and his little Mustang horse, they win all the odds, and the Arabs find out about this because he's proclaimed his horse the greatest ever, and the Arabs, even to this day, their horse race breeding program is second to none. They don't like the fact that he's proclaimed his horse the greatest in the world, so they invite him over to Arabia to take part in this like 3,000-mile death horse race, which is absolutely brutal. And yeah, it's a good film. I quite enjoyed it. Again, really good cinematography. I don't think there's a Blu-ray because it would be a good upgrade, because this DVD's looking a bit tired. A little bit overlong, really. I think it's like 2 hours 15, something like that. If they could have shaved half an hour off it, I think I'd have liked it better, because it did drag in places for me. But yeah, decent action adventure film that worthy of the collection. Again, like I said, with The Sea Shall Not Have 'Em, I can see myself watching it again in the future. Yeah, it's all right. It's not bad. And last up, and another Christmas film, sort of. I don't like your traditional Christmas films, you know, your Home Alones and your Alfs. They're not my thing, to be honest. But yeah, so a lot of my Christmas watches are tentative. Oh God, no, that's not the right word. Tentative. Oh God, here we go. I've done that in the last video. But yeah, 8 Women, a French film with a marvellous cast. 2 really heavyweights of acting for me. Isabelle Huppert, I love her in what she's in, and Catherine Deneuve, my favourite actress that I'm never ever sure how to pronounce her name properly. Emmanuel Biard, Fanny Ardant, yeah, brilliant cast, wonderfully acted. And this is about these 8 women come together to spend Christmas in this house in France, and again set in 50s, and like the costumes, the dresses, and that the women wear, absolutely lovely. Yeah, sumptuous film to watch. And they come together in this house, and the only male in the house, he's found dead in bed with a knife in his back. And then it becomes like, sort of like, you've seen the film Clue, a bit like that but French, but really good twisty whodunit film where the shadow of finger of doubt points to all 8 of the women somewhere along the film, and one of these films where you're never quite sure who did it, and there's a twist in it at the end which I never saw coming. So if anybody's seen it and did see the twist, let me know. I know on my letterbox when I logged it, I think Warren had seen it as well, and yeah, a really good film, and possibly the film I enjoyed best all week. Wonderfully acted. The only thing that went against it for me, it's a bit of a musical, not heavily musical, but every now and again they'd burst into song, which kind of took me out of the film. But Isabelle Huppert, I think she was the best actress in this. I think she's great. She is. I've really enjoyed everything I've watched of hers, and I need to see more. So if you've got any recommendations for me, let me know down below. Al, off the top of my head, I've seen The Piano Teacher, which she's incredible in that, and a couple of others. But anybody, any more suggestions, let me know down below. So that was it for the week. Have you seen any of these? Let me know if you've enjoyed them. Once again, great Christmas, guys. Give us a like if you like what I've done here today. Maybe think about subscribing if you want to hear more of this crap, and I'll see you later. Ta-ra.